The video game industry is riding high. Microsoft layoffs, PS5 Pro at $700, Concord flops hard,
And it's gone.
more layoffs, studios shutting down. Do we still get games now? With the industry slowly imploding before our eyes, it's hard not to feel jaded about every big release. But we're not giving up hope just yet. In these trying times, here are 10 things we really want in AAA games. Executives, if you're watching, please take notes. Disclaimer. We are no game devs, of course, but as consumers, we have a right to be a little demanding. After all, this benefits both, right? Number 1. No microtransactions.
Game award goes to, oh man, I have to pay a microtransaction to unlock. That's so...
This one is a no-brainer, yet here we are. It is the most common complaint every time a new game drops. Seriously, no microtransactions in single-player games, please. We've seen notable AAA games like Dragon's Dogma 2 and Assassin's Creed stumble on this, and it's not a good look. Dragon's Dogma 2 got a ton of backlash for asking players to shell out money for new pawns, and Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed keeps pushing these time savers that basically let you pay to skip the grind of their massive open world. Sounds like cheating, right? But hey, you paid for it, so it must be legit. It is baffling that some companies still do this. Most are either limiting microtransactions or ditching them altogether, yet others ignore it because, hey, it's optional. Number 2, please avoid the live service shtick. Alongside microtransactions, live service games are a major red flag for a lot of gamers these days. It's not that we're against new content, it's the whole FOMO thing.
Cause I need to get that Fortnite battle pass.
It makes gaming feel like a chore and promotes an increasingly grindy culture for modern AAA titles that's just not fun. Fortnite has mastered this live service model, constantly adding new pop culture characters to keep things fresh. Games like Destiny 2 have struggled to keep players engaged with their rinse and repeat formula. Multiplayer games can sometimes get away with it because, well, gamers are unpredictable. But titles like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Concord tried to jump on the live service bandwagon, and they flopped hard.
Turns out Suicide Squad is the name of the investors as...
Number 3. Optimize launch. A smooth launch is a sign that a game is polished. Sure, bugs and glitches can't be avoided, but a game that runs well on middling hardware is a win for everyone. It also helps avoid these dreaded review bombings from rabid Steam users. When devs don't have to worry about performance issues, they can focus on more productive tasks like adding more content or even releasing full-fledged DLCs. Games like Team Asabi's Astrobot or Shift Up Stellar Blade received a lot of praise for their optimized launches. If it has Digital Foundry's seal of approval, you know it's a solid game. I mean, who wants another Assassin's Creed Unity and Cyberpunk 2077 situation? Number 4. Alluring collectors and deluxe content. Okay, this one's a bit of a personal preference, but there is a certain kind of beauty about a good collector's edition. Those fancy figures, art books, and other goodies are just cool to have. The Final Fantasy VII Remake has Cloud and Sephiroth statues, and the Spider-Man 2 Collector's Edition has an 8-inch Venom. I'd love to see more of these in the future. They're totally optional, of course, but for those with money to burn, they're a great way to show some love for a game. Unfortunately for me, I'm broke and can only admire them from afar through unboxing videos. Number 5. Good working conditions. This one's important. A good game starts with a good management team. Any company with a culture of misogyny and harassment is a recipe for disaster. Toxic environments stifle creativity and productivity, which ultimately affects the quality of games. Good working conditions lead to good games. For example, we have Insomniac Games, creator of Marvel Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank. They're known to have a supportive and inclusive working environment, and it shows in their games. This isn't always the case, but it's good to set a standard. One that fosters a safe and healthy environment for creative minds that make the games that we play. Hell, it shouldn't even be a requirement in the first place. Number 6. Actual vibrant open worlds. With how expensive video games have become, open worlds that are bloated with repetitive content are the worst. As working adults, we simply don't have time to waste on tedious fetch quests and pointless side activities. Thankfully, some games are starting to get it. Ghost of Tsushima and the new Legend of Zelda titles are fantastic open world games that respect your time. They offer plenty to do without overwhelming you with question marks and smuggler catches. I'm looking at you, Witcher 3. We don't need games where we do the same things again and again, like activating radio towers to unlock more areas. A well-designed open world should feel engaging and immersive, not exhausting. Number 7. A complete story. This one is frustrating. Games should have a complete story at launch. DLC should be for expanding on characters or adding new content. Unfinished games are less common these days, but they still happen. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad is a prime example. After you beat all of the Justice League members, you're left hanging waiting for 4 more seasons before you can finally take down Brainiac. It's insulting to pay full price for a game that doesn't even have a proper ending. Early access titles get a free pass, but $70 for games? No thanks. Number 8. No more redundant games. Sony seems to love remasters lately, and it's getting disappointing. After remastering both The Last of Us games, they move on to the next game that doesn't really need it, Horizon Zero Dawn. These games already look great on their original consoles, and remasters rarely offer anything substantial for most players. Unless you're all about 4K graphics with a top-tier gaming setup, they're just not worth it. It's baffling why Sony keeps churning out remasters for games that came out just a few years ago. The only remaster we'd actually be excited about is Bloodborne, but we all know that Sony is allergic to money. Number 9. Shorter development periods. Long development cycles can lead to subpar products. The gaming landscape is constantly changing with new trends, new technologies, shifting player preferences, and expectations. Games that spend more than 5 years in development risk becoming outdated or irrelevant by the time they're released. Think about it. A game that started development in 2018 might have been cutting edge back then, but by 2024, Concord is the perfect example of this. It spent 8 years in development, equipped with the bleeding edge from when hero shooters were a thing. When it was released, people just didn't care. And then there was Duke Nukem Forever, more than 10 years in development only to flop hard. Long development cycles just aren't barometers for quality and success anymore. It's time for studios to go get real. Go for realistic development times with none of the crunch, and get a real pulse for what gamers want. Number 10. Make it worth the price tag. Finally, we want AAA titles to be worth their price tag. $70 is a lot of money these days, and not everyone can afford to drop that on a game that doesn't deliver. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should feel like we got value for our money. FromSoft titles like Elden Ring and Dark Souls are packed full of content, offering both single-player and multiplayer experiences, and all for a few dollars less than most AAA titles, and their DLCs are usually fantastic. We understand that game development is expensive, but we also want to feel like we're getting a fair deal. A game that's overpriced or lacking in content is a major turnoff.